Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you're having a beautiful day wherever you are right now. And today I want to talk about some unsexy parts of spiritual development. In the culture in which I live in, and you could be watching this from anywhere, so your culture might be different, but here in the West, I live in America and it's pretty much instant gratification at all times. We're becoming so used as a society, we're becoming so used to door dashing, ordering food at the click of a button and it just shows up on our doorstep, or instant entertainment. What movie do I want to watch and it's streaming, or everything is just at our fingertips. And so we kind of become accustomed to this and habituated to it just as a sign of the times. It's just part of life right now. Again, at least in America, everything is kind of at our fingertips. And so we can get used to having this mentality in all areas of our lives, including our spiritual life. So, particularly if you're newer on the path, you might be thinking, why waste any time? Let's just have this enlightenment right now. Um, let's just let's just find the quickest and the easiest route to spiritual development. And I come across people pretty regularly who either tell themselves they can't meditate, or or they say they don't have time for meditation, or they say that their meditation is something else. Like, I meditate when I'm driving, or I meditate when I'm doing something, when I'm washing the dishes, or whatever it might be. And there are a lot of different definitions of what meditation is, in terms of, people may have an idea that meditation is you have to sit there, you have to start by chanting, you have to start this way, then you move into this prescribed method. And it is true, in my opinion, that having a method, having a technique, having a flow and a rhythm to your meditation, for me, that's been imperative. I have needed that. I can't just sit down and go into a meditative state without doing some prayer, some breath work. There's a method there that I use that helps me to go deeper. Um, but in my opinion, if for most people, now there are enlightened beings, I believe there are absolutely enlightened beings on this planet who have put in the spiritual work in this life and in other lives. And at this point in their incarnation, they may not have to sit down and meditate. But I think that those people are few. Um, that they may be so tapped in to the spiritual aspect of themselves that they don't necessarily have to, quote unquote, sit down and meditate. I would argue that if there are people that are in that state, that they would still prioritize and choose to meditate, because it would be such an important part of who they are. And they also understand that it's a slippery slope. So we could tell ourselves that we don't need to meditate and kind of just get to the point where we're kidding ourselves, and we lose some of that connection that we think that we had. But when I hear people who say, my meditation is blank, it does make me wonder if how true that is, and how much experience they have with actual meditation. Because meditation is it's not sexy. It's not a quick hit. It's not a I'm going to meditate one time and then the whole world's going to synchronize for me. Um, hey, Elizabeth, thank you for joining. So good to see you here. But it's not this like, I'm going to meditate one time and everything's going to come together, and I'm never going to have to do it again. Meditation is one step on one day. Maybe you take another step that same day, and you keep building, but it's not a one and done. It's not sexy. Like I said, it's a dedicated practice, but it's so worthwhile. There is so much to be gained through your dedication to your meditation practice if you're wanting to develop spiritually. And there are all kinds of benefits outside of spiritual development in terms of stress reduction, kind of improving your cognitive functioning, your executive functioning, your organization, your ability to focus, your creativity. All of these things you can go into meditation because you want to focus on those things. But I'm really directing this conversation towards people who are working on their spiritual development. And um, even healers, for example, just to pick, a group that, whoops, sorry, there's, if you're doing healing work, you may get to a point where you're busy, you understand that you're tapped in, you're doing healing work, and you know that that's an energetic practice, so you're tapping in, and you may tell yourself, my meditation is my healing time. I would still encourage you to dedicate time every day to your own practice of tapping in and connecting and letting that be a spiritual practice, not trying to combine it with something else. And like I say, there are a lot of different meditation methods. So it may be there are people who do think that they can't sit down and meditate and that they're better off doing this, you know, with a movement, doing some sort of moving meditation. And there are really practical, and I'm sure very powerful ways to do a moving meditation. That's not my style, and I don't teach that, but I can understand that some people do have barriers of entry, and perhaps more of a moving meditation might be a starting place. Um, but it does seem that it's easier, at least in my experience, it's easier to get it distracted. It's easier to lose focus when we're also moving and when we're kind of out in the world. Even if we're in nature, it can be a little bit easier to get distracted than when we're just seated, have our eyes closed, our body is still, and it really helps us to come deeper and deeper into the center of who we are. And that's where we really connect to that eternal nature of who we are. It's by taking our attention, all of our thoughts and our distractions and everything that's kind of out in our field around us, when we're really in our mental body, our thoughts are kind of diffused around us. When we come in more into our center and we take our meditation deeper, and it literally means bringing our attention more toward the spine, more into the heart or into the pineal gland or wherever we're working. It varies from meditation to meditation, but the deeper we can get our attention and our intention, actually the more expanded we become. It's this interesting dichotomy of like going deeper in to expand further out. And another thing, going back to if you feel like you have a hard time meditating, or you think you're one of those people who could never sit and meditate because your thoughts are too active, another really helpful thing is guided meditation. So not just trying to sit down and meditate on your own, but following a trusted person, a trusted meditation teacher, or there are there's Insight Timer, there's the Calm app, there are lots of apps out there. I have a ton of meditations on my podcast, Meditation Conversation. You have to search for them because I haven't released any for a while. I have other resources on my website too. But there are a lot of people out there, if you've got somebody who you trust, who can lead you in meditation, and that way you can sit there and you can follow along, but they will help you to keep redirecting your attention so that when those thoughts, because that's very, very natural that those thoughts pop in and we get caught up in them. This still happens to me too, where I have to I just notice like, oh, I'm like I'm totally distracted. Let me come back. And that's a big part of it is just that coming back. So there are a lot of resources. If you think that you are limited, don't let your limitations that you're putting on yourself keep you from having a meditation practice. And please don't fall into that trap of I my meditation is something other than meditation. Especially in those early stages when you don't really know yet just how valuable meditation is. Um, I believe it is something that we tell ourselves because either we haven't stuck with it long enough to really understand what it's like to have that connection, to really, really tune into those benefits, really know what it's like to connect with our higher selves and receive inspiration from our divine team, from our guidance system, that invisible realm that's there to support us. And Elizabeth is saying we have to commit ourselves. There's no way around that. And that's exactly it. Thank you, Elizabeth. It's exactly it. There is no substitute. It's not sexy. It is not necessarily quick, although you will receive benefits right away. There's low hanging fruit to be had, but it's not, sitting down every day, having a dedicated meditation practice, it's not sexy. It's not a like, wait until you see what happens after day 2. I hope it's like that for you, but it also the fruit of it can come kind of slowly, and sometimes it's more things that you notice in hindsight, like, "Wow, I used to be this way, and I don't get triggered like that anymore," and on and on and on I could go about this, but I wanna keep it short. So keep up with your meditation practice. It's so, so, so imperative, especially right now with where we are, with all these magnetic changes, these planetary solar changes, all these things that are going on energetically. Your foundational meditation practice is really, really, really critical. Go on my website if you need help. There's a free meditation you can grab right there. I can point you to other resources as well. But thank you so much for watching this, for spending this time with me. And I hope you have an amazing rest of the day. Many, many blessings. See you next time.